Ananya, begin.
Good evening to everyone present with us today. Talking Films Online welcomes everyone for the session today, dated 7th of March, 2026. I am Ananya, your anchor of the night. Allow me a few of your precious minutes to introduce our platform for those joining us for the first time. Talking Films Online is an online platform inaugurated and run by Professor Dr. Nicola Ma'am and Dr. Geeta Vishwanath Ma'am. Believe this or not, the seed of what they started was a simple intent to continue the celebration of a human touch, despite the challenges to the same midst the pandemic. This, the two professors found how to do with cinema. Talking Films Online began as their brainchild 5 years ago. The platform has been supported by the volunteers who join us through internships and the many directors and scholars who concur to join us over the sessions of discussions you will shortly be witnessing. We gather every Saturday, every week at 9 sharp as per the Indian Standard Time. The assignment is simple. The members of the team and the audience are required to watch the movie as per their respective conveniences during the week that precedes the respective Saturday when we meet. Part of this task is to ask everyone to analyze the movie as and however they can. The second half is met with the session. The latter brings in a speaker, and if we can honor special guests as the director, the producers and the actor or the actors have gratified us with their presence countable times. This process of engagement with the movie is intended towards the celebration of differences of views, opinions, diversity of reflections, the contemplation of this work of cinema at large that we welcome and cherish with all our hearts. We've had the pleasure of companies of some eminent directors, editors, filmmakers, cinematographers, as Aparna Sen, Amol Paleker, Girish Kasaravalli, Jayan Chadian, and Adur Gopalakrishnan. However, there is more to us. We invite criticism on the craft of songs, methodologies, narratives, literature in the realm of cinema at large across genres. We have celebrated East European, South Asian, Iranian, and women's cinema. Talking Films Online has been conducting a short filmmaking competition every June, every year, ever since our establishment as an online program. TFO also organizes a series of lectures throughout departments with faculties at different universities. We successfully conducted our first offline international seminar on Indian cinema in the digital era in collaboration with FCT Baroda. Of our most recent records, our platform has met over an international conference at Asansol, West Bengal in November 2025. The latter was presided over by participants from across the states of India, as well as internationally, to celebrate the cinematic composition when brought from street to screen. Tonight, we are joined by Dr. Fabienne Le Hoierou, recently retired as research director at CNRS. Dr. Fabienne has contributed as a French filmmaker. She studied history of international relations at the Panthéon Sorbonne and at the Institute of Oriental Languages in 1982 to 1988 in Paris. She studied Swahili and Amharic. Dr. Fabienne received the award of a doctorate in history at Sciences Po in 1989. After her PhD, she became a researcher at the French National Center for Scientific Research, CNRS, in 1995 and became the research director in 2015. Her academic field is contemporary history, visual anthropology, with themes surrounding migrations, globalization, visual theory. She has written 13 books in social science, 4 novels, and 11 documentary films. She's currently preparing a publication on circulatory writings, exploring artistic and scientific complementary writings. Currently, Dr. Le Hoierou edits Science and Video, a human sciences review, and also serves as the director of a publishing collection, Monde en Mouvement, at La Harmattan Editions in Paris. She has used film as a methodological tool for research of social sciences and history and anthropology. The room is all yours, ma'am.
You want me to start now?
Yeah,
Yes,
but let's share the screen first. Disha, can you share the screen, please?
Yes, ma'am. Is it visible?
Yeah. So you have the first, yes, it's visible. So thank you so much for inviting me to this afternoon. It's afternoon in Europe, but it's evening in India. So thank you so much. I'm really happy to speak about Brigitte Bardot, because she passed away recently in December. And the country was absolutely on shock. And there was a lot of reaction in the press, in television, radio, on social media. Her death provoked a lot of reactions, from the best reaction to the worst, because she was not unanimous. So I will speak most of the time about Brigitte Bardot and her career more than about the film that we've chosen. We've chosen a film today that it's not her best film, but it was available on YouTube. And my main subject is more Brigitte Bardot and the male gaze, how the director have constructed her image, and the myth, the international myth of Brigitte Bardot. And the first slide, you will see the picture of Brigitte Bardot, which is the most important picture that circulated everywhere. It is the most popular picture and the most shared visual of Brigitte Bardot, that in France we call Bibi. We can go to the second slide. And Brigitte Bardot is emblematic to what is a male gaze. And most of the time she played with the male gaze. So most of the things I will say are based on what Brigitte said herself, and not about what the director have said about her, because there's hundreds of books written on Brigitte Bardot. But I thought the most interesting thing is to hear what she has to say, because she spoke for half of a century. She's known since her 18 years, since she's 18. And she was very frank, and she spoke her truth all during her life. So we have a lot of interviews where she says exactly what she thinks about her career, and how she felt in prison. Many times in interviews, she said she reckoned that she felt in prison in the film industry. But she rose to fame as a cinematic sex symbol, as everybody know, international sex symbol. But she resisted the male gaze in an ambivalent way. It is she didn't clearly resist. Because a male gaze, she ultimately reject all Hollywood style stardom for activism. So this presentation structure her life through outline section, weaving in her battles against objectivation in film like Roger Vadim. I think Roger Vadim's film and God Created Woman is much more emblematic of Brigitte Bardot because she was only 22 when she did that film, and her meet started with Roger Vadim film. She married him when she was 18 against her parent will at first. And this film made by Roger Vadim, her first husband, is a point. It's the starting point of Brigitte Bardot as a myth. We can go to the third slide. So she had, she was born in 1934 into a wealthy conservative Catholic family in Paris, affluence in 16 arrondissement, which is one of the richest part of Paris. Her father, Louis, was an engineer and factory owner, while her mother, Anne-Marie, came from a privileged background and pushed young Brigitte toward the arts. In many interviews, Brigitte Bardot says that she never wanted to be an actress, but it is partly untrue because her mother took her to casting. So if you don't want to be an actress, you don't run into all the castings to show yourself and to make some proof. So she was a gifted dancer. Before everything, she was a dancer. And she was trained at the Conservatoire de Paris under Russian choreographer Boris Kianev. So it's a very good school. She did a very good dancing school in Paris. And from the age of 15, balancing ballet with modeling for Elle magazine. She started to be a model at 15, which is very, very young. She was still a girl. So this bourgeois upbringing clashed with her rebellious spirit, evident in childhood defiance against strict parental rules. So we can go on the next slide. We can go on the next slide. So she was raised in one of the richest neighborhoods in Paris, as I say. An extremely long corridor runs through the center of her apartment from the grand entrance hall to the servants' quarters and the kitchen. This large 9-room apartment on Rue de la Pompe, where she spent her childhood. Do you have the picture of the apartment in Rue de la Pompe? This is slide number 4.
Yes, we can see the apartment. Yeah.
So now we can go to slide number 5 and see a construction made by her grandfather. They had a manoir, very huge manoir, because Louis Bardot was a wealthy industrialist, as was typical. Her mother, Anne-Marie Mussel, was a homemaker. It was into this affluent and somewhat stuffy environment that Brigitte was born on September 28, 1934 in Paris. So we can go to slide 5. She married to Vadim at the age of 18 and in 1952. And her parents tried to send her to England, but she tried to suicide herself. Her first suicide tentative was in because her parents refused her to marry the very young Roger Madin. And Vadim really fabricated her as a lovely idiot archetype with the film God Created Woman in 1956, where she played Juliette. And this film is extraordinary because in this film you have a scene, a major scene that we will try to see on YouTube. I don't know. We can go to slide 7. We can go to slide 7. A Ravishing Idiot was a 1964 film, and the story is not very interesting. It's a Soviet spy sets out on a mission to get his hand on the classified information at NATO. However, due to his clumsy nature, he must rely on his partner, who is also the object of his affection. So you can see by the poster exactly the male gaze, the way that Brigitte is drawn on the poster, completely submission and submissive action. The film, as you may have seen before the discussion, repeats 10 times that she's an idiot. She's an idiot, she's an idiot. It is repeated all during the film and attributes to her an hysterical and idiotic laugh. She is laughing all the time, but very stupidly, in a very stupid manner throughout, right up to the final denouement. She has this stupid laugh. And the film showcases Bardot through lingering close-ups. You have a lot of close-ups in the film on her body, legs, and décolletage, especially in fashion scenes or comedic undress moments. Aligning with 1960s French cinema eroticization, the eroticization started in the 60s in the French cinema. And Brigitte Bardot was a key actress during that moment. Penny Lightfeather is voluptuous in the film, childlike and ingenuine. And I think also the fact that she is childlike is very important because it corresponds to the idiotic caricature that is made on her personality. At the end of the film, she is the sharpest and the most intelligent character that saves the situation. But ironically, after the film, the only thing you remember is the stupid laugh of a blonde, completely ignoring the denouement, which contradicts the caricature of the idiot. I mean, it has been studied by scientific. If you repeat the same message during a film, like during the film, she's an idiot, she's an idiot, oh, she's an idiot, oh, she's so idiot. It is repeated so many times. At the end, even if at the end of the film, she's the smart one, your brain remember the fact that she's idiot. I mean, it's a mechanism. It's a classical mechanism of the brain. When you repeat something, it is the word that is repeated that at the end you remember much more than the fact and the real end of the film. So, and even the title, it's a shameful title, and it was translated as a lovely fool, not a ravishing idiot, but on the film you saw on YouTube, the title is A Lovely Fool, which means that today nobody would dare to say to use the word idiot. So we can go to slide 8 and then to slide 9. We can go to slide 9. In God created the woman by yes, this is slide 9. You can see the poster, typical on male gaze. You have the man on the left and Brigitte Bardot on a typical typical position of representing what is a male gaze. So we can go on slide 11 because I think on slide 11, this is the scene that was a revolution in the French cinema and in the French society. It was the first time that an actress was dancing so widely in this way. Before, actresses were pompous, they had hair were completely combed, and they had coiffure and everything. And she is completely natural. And in this scene, we can go to slide 12. I don't know if we can see the scene. Slide 12. So in this scene, she is illustrating what Mulvey calls scopophilic, a dance engineer for heterosexual male pleasure. Like an object. It's a mambo dance. And this mambo dance is really the symbol of the male gaze on Brigitte Bardot. We can go to the visual 13, to the slide 13. Slide 13. So the women are passive and they are serving male viewer and who have pleasure in looking, and the protagonists are male, and the pleasure is also in a voyeuristic with certain camera angles and the zoom on the body. I want to see, we can go on slide 14. We can go on slide 14. You see her hair is completely wild Her skirt is completely open, showing her body, especially the legs. And the legs are usually seen as fetish in the male desire. So there is a fetishization of the body in this scene. And in this scene, she's only 22. So we can go to slide 15 and try to go on YouTube. Yeah. You can click, yeah, and see. This is the song that she used to sing after she quit the cinema for her ambivalence.
Le soleil sur le zénith de petits sols Kelly dans sa suite 17 ans limite je ressuscite toi petite c'est sûr que tu es toi petite tu es
Concept. So why did I choose this song? Because she registered this song in 1978. And the song is very simple. It's a program. It's Sea, Sex, and Sun. And she recorded it long after she quit the cinema, because she quit the cinema in 1973. And I think, and she said it in many interviews, that she enjoyed the male gaze. She enjoys being a sex symbol, and she, in many interviews, said that when the crew was complimenting her, the crew, the cameraman, or all the cinema crew, she enjoyed it and she liked it. And she was also against Me Too. So she had a very ambivalent. On one side, she said that she was in prison with her with the star system, that she felt in prison with her body, and in the second, on a second way, she's also played with the male gaze. So I think this ambivalence is quite interesting to remark. So we can go to the next 16. So Bardot embodied untamed femininity, popularizing bikinis, her coiffure, beach sensuality at Saint-Tropez, La Madrague, influencing women worldwide to mimic her style, her off-screen life with multiple marriage, affairs, and hedonies, mirror her roles, inspiring a generation to reject rigid 1950s norm for liberated sexuality and casual chic. I remember when I was younger, my mother used to have the hair like Brigitte Bardot, and she used also to put dresses like Brigitte Bardot. She had an enormous influence on the woman. Bardot look was blending sensuality, simplicity, and freedom. And she invented many fashion, like the Bardot neckline, exposing her shoulders, like I don't know if you have seen in the film. All this fashion were invented by her. And she was imposing her taste to the directors. I think this also is very important because Godard said that she imposed her hair, her big chignon, to him. She had her hair like this, and Godard didn't like it, but it was in the deal. He had to admit that she was free to come the way that she wanted. She also invented the ballet flats in 1956. She never wore high heel shoes, and the sailor shirt with strip tops. The gingham Vichy dresses, what we call the Vichy dresses. Her messy hairstyle became like a symbol. And she also was the first to create a mix of masculine and feminine elements, like wearing jeans and boots in the same time, and also the beach style of the south of France, Saint-Tropez culture. So she created a new vision of femininity, more independent, spontaneous, and sensual. And we can go to the next slide, slide 17. And she was always bare feet. And for me, Bardot was the princess with bare feet. It was a whole symbol. Before her, nobody was, no star, no actresses would have ever shown herself or produced herself bare feet. She never wears shoes. Look, she's here in the picture. She's walking on the street and she's bare feet. And most of her picture, in most of her pictures, she is bare feet, and it's an important symbol because in the bare feet there's a visual message. So I think this is very important when you consider the rupture with the 50s and the 60s. She was the first to act this way, to create her own style. She was constructed by the male director, but she also constructed herself, because deciding about her hairstyle and the way she wants to look and the way she wants to dress means that she was also very aware of the image she wanted to transmit. So we can go to the next file, 18. Yeah, this is typical of her hairstyle. And on the left, you have the chignon, and Godard hated it. He says this in an interview, how much he hated this hairstyle. So we can go to slide 19. And she had many love affairs, many marriage and many love affairs. And the newspaper, I remember when I was younger, all her affairs were object of articles, and the paparazzi were spying at her. She had no life. This is true. She had no life. She was observed like nobody else before. It never happened in the French cinema to be harassed the way she was harassed by the photographer. But she also played with it. And she said she was in prison, but she did everything to be a sex symbol. And when she became a sex symbol, she said and she saw that she was in prison of this image. So we can go to the next slide, slide 20. This is our many marriage, many husbands. And it was the first time that the actress was showing herself, showing her life so free. This freedom was new. And during the 60s and the 70s, Brigitte Bardot was an icon of season and sex and the liberation of the fashion during that time. So we can go to slide 21. Her hedonism was spectacular. We can go to slide 22. So this freedom amplified the male gaze with paparazzi and films like Godard, The Contempt in 1963. And Godard is not a vulgar filmmaker. Godard has never played on something on nudity and vulgarity, but in The Contempt in 1963, he really depicts her half naked, and this is a poster of Le Maîtrise Contempt. There is a book to hide. This is Godard putting a book on the bottom. But she depicts her half naked, sunbathing. And even the poster is prioritizing her body over the depth. She became France at that time of Le Maîtrise, 1963. She became the France's highest paid actress. But privacy vanished amid constant scrutiny. That's when she said at that time that she was in prison. We can go on 23. Slide 23. She was always chosen for her nudity by all directors, even Godard. We have seen now. The poster is quite clear. He's using Bardot for his film because she is nude on the poster. So we can go on 24. Next slide. So there is an interview of Godard about Brigitte Bardot, which is very interesting, because he said that he never thought Bardot was an actress, but a phenomenon. What was interesting for him was the presence of Bardot, her her animality, son animalité, which is I don't know if it's a big compliment when you speak about someone's animality, but it's very interesting. You can there is a link on YouTube if you want to listen to Godard's interview about Bardot. As usual, Godard is very sharp and is more interesting to listen than other directors. So we can go to 25, slide 25, if you please. So Godard said that the hardest part would have been asking her to lengthen her skirts and undo her beehive. And I think this is very funny because this is the symbol of Bardot. She could reject a contract if she didn't have the hairstyle that she wanted to have. So he had to negotiate about that. So we can go to 26, slide 26. And at the end, she rejected the caricature of the blonde, the sexy actress. And she wanted to give her life a new shift. and she was complaining that she was mostly asked to undress that, rather than act seriously. Films from Madine to Henri-Georges Clouzot, The Truth. By the way, Henri-Georges Clouzot, The Truth is the most interesting film where she really, as an actress, shows that she's also a good actress. And Godard reinforced the male gaze, objectifying her décolletage and curves despite comedic or dramatic intent. So we go next slide, which is 27. So at the age of 39, in 1973, at the peak of her fame, she quit cinema to escape this reduction to a sex symbol, seeking authenticity amid rising pornography. Her pivot to animal rights marked a quest for something serious, rejecting the caricature imposed by directors, including her ex-husband. We can go to slide 28, if you please. And she said it in an interview. She said it clearly that she quits because she wanted to change her life, and she knew that at the age of 50, it is quite sure that she won't have good roles like when she was 30 years, knowing that aging for women are surely narrowing their career, if not stopping her career. So she wants to stop before they stop her. She said that she hates to be abandoned and preferred to quit the cinema before the cinema abandons her. And I think she's very frank. This is very straightforward because it is true that after 50 years old, there is not so much roles for actresses. All the actresses are say it, even now. They say after 50, it's very complicated to be an actress. So we can go to slide 29. And this hasn't changed too much. This hasn't changed too much. It was complicated during the 60s to have roles after the age of 40. It's also complicated today. It's a big issue in the cinema world. So we can go to slide 30. So aging is complicated and still is. We can go to slide 31. Ageism persists. Ageism and the male gaze remain issues with women over 40, 50 facing fewer leading roles and lower pay than men. In 2025 top films, female leads hit at 7-year low, that's 39%, dropping sharply after the age of 50, while no woman of color after 45. There is counter-example, of course. Meryl Streep, Helen Mirren, Jamie Lee Curtis, Sigourney Weaver, and in France, Catherine Deneuve. Catherine Deneuve is 80 years old, and she still have very interesting roles, but she is Catherine Deneuve. There are women after 50 having leading roles in interesting films are maybe 3 or 4 in France, not more than that. So we can go to slide 32 if we please. So she argued about, she always loved animals, and her love for animals and her sensibility for understanding animal started when she was a kid. She also said in an interview that she had a rabbit when she was small, and one day she was eating some meat that the maid did for her, and they told her it was her rabbit. She was completely despaired, and she was very, very, very sad, and she had a existential crisis with this story, with what happened to her beloved rabbit. And she said in many interviews that when you have a friend, you are attached to your friend and you don't abandon. So she was considering that abandoning animals was like abandoning a friend. And it was not tolerable, it was unbearable. And I think she was very important because in Europe at that time, animals were not considered. They were considered, they were not subject. And it's not like in India. In India, what I loved a lot, very much, is the way animals are completely full sentience, living sentience. But in Europe, the way animals were treated 30, 45 years, even 35 years before, now the mentality has changed a lot. And I think it is because of Brigitte Bardot, because she did a lot about for the animals. And her action had a lot of influence. Even though people were making fun of her, I remember that when I was younger, people were imitating her. But even so, if she was mocked, she had a great, great influence in the European perception of animals. So we can go to 33, slide 33, if you please. And yeah, this is when she was 39, and the second photo is Brigitte before she died at the age of 80. But I think you can recognize her so well. It's the same style. She is recognizable. So we can go to 34. So the Bardot Foundation was very, very active on ethical causes, like against animal cruelty and bullfighting, especially bullfighting in Spain. Bullfighting is something absolutely horrible. It's a torture for the bull. I don't know if you've ever seen a bull fighting, but it's bloody, revolting, and the way the animal is considered is unacceptable. And she did a lot using her influence, and she influenced the laws in France. And so I think at the end, from the age of 40 to the age of 80, she was an activist. And she showed that she was not a lovely idiot, but I think a very intelligent woman and courageous, because even though people were mocking her, she was always coherent, straightforward, and she kept her agenda whatever the politics were saying, whatever people were saying, she stayed straight on her shoes, like we say in France, droit dans ses bottes. And I think it's a very good example of honesty, of being honest to her choice. She chose at 39, at 80, she was still fighting for her choices with a lot of courage, I can say. So 35, we can go to slide 35. So what we can say that her activism elevated animal welfare, and she really influenced the public discourse on animal well-being. And in that, I think she was a very important person. So thank you very much, and we can discuss about the film and about Brigitte Bardot and the male gaze, and especially the male gaze in in A Lovely Idiot on the film, A Lovely Idiot, that you have seen on YouTube.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Fabienne, ma'am. Now, thank you so much for this fruitful and quite the feminist representation and discussion on the film on Ravissante Idiot. I now open, on behalf of TFO's entire team, the doors to the questions. Is there anyone, whoever wants to come in, please feel free.
Can I come in, Ananya?
Yes, ma'am, with pleasure.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Fabienne, so much for that really interesting discussion of Bardot as a sex icon, and especially I liked the way you pointed out the ambivalence in this image of Bardot as a sex icon. Coming to the film specifically, largely it belongs to the genre of spy comedy, but it also plays along with the star persona of Bardot. So a lot of things that you spoke about Bardot, one can see how it operates in this film, this adorable idiot. And it is a spy comedy. At the same time, it is a parody of this espionage narratives, because generally an espionage narrative represents the spy as an extremely competent, efficient, and glamorous figure. But here, the whole thing is turned on its head and it is reduced to a farce. And even Bardot's name in the film, Light Feather. So the name is also symbolic, because already by then this film comes after her more famous film, as you rightly said, And God Created Woman. She was already known as a sex icon. And where she's presented as sexually powerful, but then at the same time harmless, and as you said, childlike. So that is why Light Feather, she's just light and frothy, and that's how she functions in the narrative. So it's less as an agent, a spy, but more of of a spectacle. You know, she's more spectacularized in the narrative. But having said this, her, stupidity also, her projected stupidity, so to speak, also kind of exposes the absurdity of the way a spy operates and the way a spy narrative generally flows. And along with Bardot, equally interesting is the casting of Anthony Perkins. Because Anthony Perkins, just 2 years, I think 4 years before the release of this film, had played the role of Norman Bates in Psycho, where he is this intense. It's a very intense psychological role that he plays, and here he is a bumbling romantic hero. So, even if the film kind of sets up the woman as this spectacle and a mere sexual icon, uh, even the hero is, unlike spy narratives, is not projected as somebody who is competent in his role as a foreign agent. He's equally bumbling. So in that sense, there is some stupidity that can be attributed to the male as much as to the female as well. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Gita. Yes, it's very true. There is shared stupidity on the gender roles and I also, when I saw the film, I wondered how Anthony Perkins, after the role he had, he could have accepted to be, I mean, of course, of course, he's very handsome, but it's not enough. I mean, the role is not as his advantage at all because it's comical, but it's léger. But I mean, he's as stupid as Bardot, maybe more. And this is a denouement. At the end, Bardot is a smart one, and he was very naive. He couldn't imagine that she was a spy herself. But it is never said in the dialogue or in the film that he's stupid. His stupidity is shown by his mistakes, by the way he's acting, and even at the beginning of the film with the shoes, it's completely ridiculous, and he is ridiculous. But he is never insulted as an idiot. And in fact, the term idiot comes to Bardot all the time.
Yes.
And that is it's a problem because he's ridiculous, but he's young and he's romantic. I mean, but she is the blonde, stupid, laughing stupidly. He doesn't laugh stupidly as she does.
Yeah.
She laughs all during the film. And it's like a hen. Ha 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 ha. She has this she sounds like a hen. And she's absolutely ridiculous, and I dislike this film for that, because at the end, you don't remember that she's more clever, that she's hiding her intelligence. You just remember the humiliations throughout the film. She's humiliated, and I think this humiliation is a problem. And all her life, Bardot has been humiliated. I remember when I was younger, there were jokes about Bardot, and the origin of being blonde and stupid comes from the myth Bardot in France. a blonde is Bardot, blonde and stupid. And this was stick together. And I think it was very damaging for the woman in Europe to have this connection of being blonde and stupid. And I remember when I was younger, I thought Bardot was stupid when I was, maybe 18, because all around me, people were making fun of her. They were, she was shown like something ridicule. She was ridiculized. She was mocked all the time. And even when she quitted the cinema, in 73, she was mocked all the time, and she was a symbol of the blonde idiot all her life. And I think this is unfair because she was intelligent. It's heavy, and that is the prison she paid. This is the price that she paid, because she was ambivalent, as you said, with the male gaze. She played with it. She enjoyed male attention, and she expressed it. She said it. She was very frank. There were no hypocrisy in Brigitte Bardot, and as Goder says, she was a phenomenon. She was a block that you had to accept. As a film director, she imposed her hair, she imposed her dress. No actress can go into a film, impose her hairstyle, the dress that she wanted. If she didn't like, for example, the dress proposed in the film, she used to go to a shop and shop the dress that she wanted, and nobody would say anything because she was very highly paid, and a film was successful only with her name, so she could do whatever she wanted. And in the same time, she paid a high price for this freedom. But yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Fabienne.
Thank you so much to both Geeta ma'am and Dr. Fabienne ma'am. I now open the questions, and yes, inviting all the others to come in with any new reflection, any new question, any comment.
Yeah. Fabienne, thanks so much for this tribute to Brigitte Bardot on behalf of TFO. Thanks for accepting our invitation to introduce a film on this occasion. She passed away a few months ago, so we're a little late, but nevertheless, it has happened because of you. With regard to the film, yeah, I mean, the plot is a pretty complicated one,
It's complicated.
Yeah, so it leads to infinite number of delays and complications. So it generally seems to be a milieu of stupidity and incompetent people. So it doesn't seem like there's anyone who who's left redeemed in the film. Everyone is stupid, and incompetent, and in their own way. I was just curious as to who the title could be a reference to, in fact. Of course, as you read it, it makes more sense to think of Bardot as the adorable fool. But you could say the same thing of so many others in the film. So one is that. So the genre, which creates a character like this. While most of your presentation was reading the Bardot figure, the image of the actor playing this role. I was just thinking of what this role means in a film like this, which is tongue-in-cheek, farcical. One is not meant to take anything seriously. I mean, if spying is serious business, at the end of this film, no one, I mean, we are all disabused of its importance or the intelligence of spies or anything. So I was just wondering, within the framework of the narrative, if we restore Bardot's character to the framework of the narrative, and to the genre, the comedic genre, we will see her as one of those many who are stupid and idiotic. Maybe intertextually, by looking at her other films, you are reading male gaze, into her. And this idea of the dumb blonde, the stupid blonde. But in this film, if we look at, I mean, much of the plot complications arise because of everyone's collective stupidity. So it seems like it's a film that wants us not to take anyone seriously, isn't it? So I was just wondering, how we would read Bardot within the context of this narrative. As you rightly said, in the resolution, finally she's the smart one, and she's the one who saves the situation. But as you said, we don't remember it, and maybe it's not even so important. The resolution is not even so important as much as the journey, which is full of complications simply arising out of the different characters' stupidity. There's a series of them. I mean, it's not like there is even one character who I mean, even the villains, or first of all, it's not even clear who the villain is in a film like this. But even those who are supposed to be mean and villainish are turned ridiculous. So to think of the tone of the film predominantly as farcical. So how would we then think of a character, the character that Bardot plays in this film? I was just thinking about that. But thanks for the wonderful intro. You really laid out very well the figure of what Bardot means in French society and French culture. Thank you.
Thank you, Kila. Everybody is full in the film, and it's a comedy, so it is supposed to be like that. But we have to recall the historical context and moment. The film is in the 60s, and there's a paranoia in Europe about Russia. So the enemy are the Russians, and the Russians are so stupid. And generally in Europe, the Russians were seen as a very intelligent, very cold killers. And the way everybody's pictures, you are right, are full and idiot. And it's a comedy. They make fun of everybody. And especially, I don't know if you remember in the film, there is a party with politicians. And there is a critique of the French bourgeoisie and the French snobbish, French snobs, the way they speak French is doesn't exist anymore, because this level of high class snobbery doesn't exist. Or today's snobs don't dare to speak like that. So it is also very funny. It's a social caricature of the French society, and there's also a play with French and British comparison. It's supposed to be in London and not in Paris, but the character are so French, so they have nothing to do with a British character. They have the French snobbery, the French manners, and London doesn't come, with the truth. The true city of London is not apparent. It is like it was shot in Paris with false decoration of London, and it's also add to the comics. But I didn't laugh. I think it was not funny at all, because we are not in the 60s anymore, and this film became old. It's just like some art. Some books become old and some are eternal, like Dostoevsky. You read it two 200 years before, and you read Dostoevsky today, it's not old. It his way of it is not aging, but this film is aging, because it is so much linked to the historical context of the Cold War. We are in 1963. So that's why everybody looks so ridiculous in the film. But thank you, yes.
Can I come in for just a moment, Nananya?
Please, ma'am, go on.
Yeah. Yeah. Nikhila, with regard to your question about, who is intended to be the idiot in the film, the stupid person in the film. I think the title of the film in French makes it quite clear, because unlike English grammar, in which the indefinite article and an are gender neutral, in
Yeah.
French, UN is very clearly masculine, and une is feminine. And the title of this film is Une ravissante idiote. I think Fabienne and Sanjay will correct my pronunciation. Of course, there are multiple stupid characters in the film, but I think the filmmaker intended to play on the dumb blonde image by calling the film stupid. Fool as the woman as a stupid fool, because the title itself makes it very clear that it is a woman.
Yeah, completely right. Ravissante is a female.
Is female, yeah.
It cannot be a male.
Male, yes.
Yeah, you are completely right. And even the poster.
Yeah.
On the poster, it is clear that Bardot is the main character and not Anthony Perkins.
Yeah.
And Bardot will make the entries, and people will come to see the film because of Bardot. And it is playing on Bardot's reputation. But of course, Bardot would have never accepted if she was caricature as a stupid all during the film. So I think the director is playing, because as she would have rejected the scenario if the director was not mixing the stupidity, sharing this stupidity, she would have rejected the scenario, because who can accept? I mean, she was the most well-paid actress in France during the 60s. So she directors were running after her. She was not running after directors. So I think most directors have to do with Bardot. So, like Godard said, if to accept his scenario, Bardot has conditions. And Godard was not known as much as Bardot. The star was Bardot. In 56, Godard was nobody. And the filmmaker is also a nobody. Who knows this filmmaker today? Everybody has forgotten this director. So, and Bardot is still Bardot. So, so
Thank
I
you.
think
Thank you.
Thank you to both Nicola ma'am, Geeta ma'am, and Dr. Fabienne ma'am again. I continue to open the discussion. The discussion remains open, and anyone else is welcome. Do we have anyone with any new explanation? Yes, please. Please go on, admin.
Hi, thank you so much, Fabian and TFO. This was a treat, I haven't seen such a film in a long time. It was a real treat. And, to get a sense of the mystique of Bardot, Fabian, through your talk was really wonderful. We all have a sense of her, at least I just had a sense of her. I don't know her work. And to hear her life story, a little bit through you, it was really, really wonderful, actually. And it reminds me that, before I move on, let me say I just loved seeing, Perkins, Anthony Perkins. Like Geeta said,
that's
Norman Bates has sort of captured our imaginations, and to see him in this light, bumbling role, I know we've all been talking about the stupidity and all that, but I found him utterly charming, and so did Bardot as well. In fact, all the characters. It is just, I could not take anybody seriously. So, that's why I guess I enjoyed it and was quite charmed. But I thought I was, wanting to ask you, so, her contemporaries, Fabian, at that time, Catherine Deneuve, I think, was there. Then in other parts of Europe, Sophia Loren was there, right? There were other women who were facing the same thing, and women even today face it. We have, it's a fact, even in India, in the US, in Europe, everywhere, that there's a certain age where you get the power because of your looks and your body, and you use it. That's the system. The system makes you, it forces you to function in a particular way. And then as you grow older, you realize what's happening, and you start wanting the serious roles. You start wanting to have a legacy that is not just, ditzy blonde or whatever it is, to have a real legacy in the profession you have chosen or that chose you. And it's interesting to me that that's true even today. That has not changed. Maybe there's a little more freedom. There are people like Helen Mirren, maybe Streep. You can count them on your fingers. Shabana Azmi. You can count them on your fingers. The women who've been able to get good work post even 35. I mean, forget 40, 50. So, so I'm curious, how did Catherine Deneuve manage her career? How did other women? You said, I think she's still working. I mean, not still working, but she managed a much longer career. How did that happen, and how did she negotiate it? Bardot gave up in disgust. Clearly, she just couldn't deal with it, and she went with the flow, did what she had to, made the money, got the fame, whatever. But then she just got sick of it. But other actresses of the time continued. And what was it that you think worked differently in Catherine's career? How did that play out? I'm just curious, just wondering, as you were talking, that's when the thought came to me. So, I was wondering if you had any, insight on that.
Thank you very much. This is a very good question. Thank you so much. Yes, Anthony Perkins is so charming also. I think he's the key of the film
Mm.
because yeah, he is charming, not handsome, charming. The way he moves and his smile, his innocent face. It's true. There's a lot of charm connected with him. And Hawaii Deneuve wasn't trapped by the cinema. She never felt in prison like Bardot. Because Bardot was so frank. I think Bardot was genuine. Her simplicity, she was simple, she was genuine, and she was transparent. If she was in love, she was in love. She was not hiding, and she was not separating private and official life. She was not separate. Instead, Deneuve protected herself so well. You knew nothing about Deneuve. Deneuve was not giving interview. She was hiding from the photographer, and she was not as sexy as Bardot. Deneuve is beautiful, but she's cold like a piece of ice. The beauty of Bardot is incomparable. I think she was the most beautiful woman in France. This is for sure. Deneuve is beautiful, but she even the way Bardot walked. She was a dancer. It was never vulgar. I wanted to show this dance, the mambo dance in God Created Woman. She There is no vulgarity at all. She so shows her legs, but as she did classical dance, she was never vulgar. But I don't know, I think she was childish also because she was very young. But so Deneuve started at the age of 16, like Bardot. They were very young. But maybe Deneuve protected herself. She didn't protect herself. She spoke like she never understood that you couldn't say everything to the press. You have to hide and protect yourself. And Deneuve, she had lots of love affairs, Deneuve. Huh? She's not a saint. Maybe worse than Bardot, much worse. But she was playing the sand. She knew how to play with the social codes. She has this hypocrisy. I prefer Bardot than Deneuve, this is for sure. Because Bardot has this hypocrisy. But hypocrisy sometimes is protective. And she protected herself much more than Bardot, who had played too much. I think Bardot enjoyed being sexy. And she enjoyed with the sex appeal. And Deneuve, she never played with the sex appeal. And Deneuve has no sex appeal. She's beautiful, but it's cold and beautiful. She doesn't dance like Bardot. She doesn't have the living aura and the charm of Bardot. She's a cold icon. So you can worship her like a Durga, but not like a dancer or something more lively. And the fact that Bardot was so lively and so straightforward, she was very honest. Even she said things that she should have never said. She could say stupid things. She didn't care. She said what she wants. She was careless, and she paid a very high price for this carelessness. And Deneuve was not careless. She controlled what she said all the time. She was under control. And the fact that Bardot didn't control herself didn't help her. And she didn't like, anyway, she didn't like the industry. She didn't like being, I think she didn't like it. She really loved her life when she started to make the foundation, protect the animals, take care of the dogs and the cats, have this beautiful farm in south of France. She had this beautiful house in front of the sea with lots of animals. At that time, she began to be happy.
Mm.
And I think her love for animal was also very genuine. And she's much more generous than Catherine Deneuve, because my sister told me this is it's,
Gossip.
it shouldn't be shared. But my sister make a film, and she's also a filmmaker, and she was in a hotel with Deneuve, and Deneuve made a scandal because the flower were not white flowers. They put in her
Yeah.
bedroom
Oh, dear.
some normal flowers, and she shouted. She threw everything away because it was not white flowers from the countryside. So we have also this attitude. She is not. She doesn't have the. She's not simple like Bardot was. I think she's a big bourgeois. She's a bourgeois, and her roles are bourgeois roles. And mm,
Mm. Mm.
that's
So
my
she
opinion.
negotiated. She negotiated the industry better, possibly.
Yeah,
To
much
make it
better.
last. Yeah.
And she's not a better actress.
No.
She's not a good actress either. But she's very sharp and intelligent, and she knows how to deal with these people.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks again, TFO.
Thank
Also,
you.
this was delightful. I loved seeing this film.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to both of you. That was interesting. I invite more people to contribute to the discussion. Any questions? Do we have anyone, Shadhad, Sir, Dadakishwar, Sir? Do we have anyone? Look at him, my man. Does anybody have any questions? Any burning questions to throw? If there are no questions as of now, maybe I'll just come in to fill the room, and I will take this really good opportunity to ask my questions, Dr. Fabienne, ma'am, if I'm allowed. This is my pleasure again, Dr. Fabienne, ma'am, to meet you from a distance and miles apart. Well, I also thank you for introducing me to a film like this. I am not a complete stranger, I'll say, to French movies and movies where with English speakers from France. So I'm not a complete stranger to that, provided that I have watched Marilyn Monroe a few times, who works as a blonde female actress. And a few other French movies. I think there's a movie named the Before trilogy, Before Sunset, Before Sunrise, and Before Midnight, wherein we also have a French actress alongside an American. So in this movie, I did enjoy the criticism you brought to the screen with us today. I could tell that the criticism was coming because of how the movie portrayed exploitation of the female to me when I was watching the film. So when I watched the movie, and I did also find the female character and the portrait of the feminine gestures all entirely significant. So alongside this exploitation concerning age, concerning the sexuality, concerning the gender and the femininity, I also found that there was an exploitation of, or maybe just judgments surrounding the speech, surrounding the French speech when French people speak in English, and also the Americans. And I've personally just noticed this in real life as well, how the American gestures are mocked at, how sometimes some people mock at the way the French people speak. And this may be too strong a comment for me to just go ahead and say that there is a sense of racism that surrounds this type of practice of mockery at accents of people and how they speak around the globe internationally, especially the French people, which I have personally noticed in England as well, how the French speech is somehow taken for light entertainment now and then, for certain terms and syllables and pronunciation of words. So I would like your opinion on, I would like to acquaint myself with what you have to say on this topic with reference to the movie you suggested.
Sorry, what is your question exactly?
The question is surrounding the subject of the kind of racial tension that surrounds this exploitation of French speech in English as delivered in the movie.
I don't understand what exactly you are saying. Sorry. What do you want?
I'm asking you, ma'am, to share your views and your opinions on how the French speech has been represented in English.
Okay. I have no opinion. Yes, it is true. In many movies, the way the French people are speaking English is mocked. We have the same here in France. When Indian people speak French, we mock. When British people speak French, we mock also. I mean, this is all over the world. It's also charming. There is mockery, but it's also in a funny way. There is nothing bad or mean about it. It's not supposed to be mean. It's supposed to be funny. And in France, when we have film with people imitating the French accent, even when our president is speaking in English, all the French is laughing. All the French people make fun of him and imitates Macron speaking English and with his French accent, etc. We are also mocking ourselves with ourselves. There is self-mockery. But I think it's funny. There's nothing, there is nothing mean about that. It's humoristic.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Did I understand your question, or I'm answering out of purpose?
No, ma'am, you did. You did understand my question, and you answered that with a new perspective that I didn't see coming. Thank you so much. I open the discussion now to anyone else who might have come up with a question or two in the meantime, as I was speaking. Do we have anyone? Any more question? Madhurima ma'am, Sanjay Kumar, sir, Shridhar, sir, Tarakeshwar, sir.
If there are no questions, I thought I will just pitch in for a while. The discussion was quite interesting. One is to read the text, and how do we read the text is one is to place the context of its production and reception. I think Fabienne was trying to do that, trying to place the reading of the text in the context of its production and reception in France. But we are also looking at the film today, taking it out of that context and rereading it. So when we are rereading it, other interpretations are also possible, which might not have been in tune with the historical reception it had in France since 1960s. So, about the male gaze, how a particular actress and the film it is received in the French context, an historical context, and how it has grown over the period of time. And today it is possible for us to give it a kind of read in between the lines, or give a kind of deconstructive reading of the entire text. That is possible. So otherwise, these two interpretations, the methods of interpretation that came out in the discussion was, I thought, quite interesting. Thank you for the film, and thank you for the discussion, Fabian.
Thanks to you, Tarakshar, and happy birthday. It's today your birthday, no?
Yesterday, thank you.
Yes, it's very true. We have to go back to the context in the 60s, and any film in the 60s with Brigitte Bardot was a success. Even if the film was not so good, the film would be a success because she was magnetic. All the people wanted to see her, and even the paparazzi were selling the picture of Bardot was very costly. They made a lot of money. If they steal picture of Bardot, they were hiding behind. The photographers were hiding near our property in south of France. She has this big, not big, but this beautiful house by the sea, and there were photographers everywhere trying to steal an intimate, a private moment of Brigitte Bardot when she was younger, of course, but even old. And they were selling this picture. They were very costly. It was very expensive. So they made a lot of money. So every time you touch and you put Bardot on as a title, it was a success. And now we see it with our eyes of 2026. And of course, this film is funny, and there is the only thing interesting in the film really is Bardot and Tony Perkins, because they are major star and they have such a presence, such a aura. But the film themselves, the film is not un chef-d'œuvre. Je sais pas comment on dit chef-d'œuvre en anglais. It's not a
Masterpiece.
beautiful. It's
Masterpiece.
not a masterpiece. Thank you, Sanjay. It's not a masterpiece. The film is Brigitte and Anthony Perkins. And the rest of the actors are not well known. Everything is forgotten. The situation, the historical context has changed so much. So we cannot. The film has aged so much. And then I can ask you a question, Tarek Shah. Why some films are beyond history, beyond context, beyond age, and some films remain eternally interesting? What are the reasons a film doesn't age and another can age very fast? What is the distinction? What is the reason? What is the skills of the director? You know, then I'm asking the question to the audience.
I think the question is interesting, and it especially in humanities, with regard to certain art forms, we consider certain text as classical. It doesn't age, or it renders as it ages, it renders itself into multiple readings. So the way it was read in 70s and the way it was read in 60s and the way it is being read today, it makes sense to us. And certain texts are context specific. You can't take them out of the context and read them. So those texts which can be taken out of context and which still make sense to us tend to become classic. But you were saying that this film was not a classic. But as the discussion emerges, there are some people who liked it even today.
Really?
Irrespective of what was the meaning that was attributed to this film in that context, out of that also it makes sense to us. So even this text has the possibility to become uh, a context, a classic. So in that sense, what becomes a classic or a canonical text is quite interesting phenomena. What are the ingredients, socio-economic and political or artistic ingredients, which makes a text a canonical text, which uh, gives multiple interpretations across time, is an interesting phenomena to look at. I don't know whether I was able to answer your general question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You made a beautiful conclusion. Thank you, Tarak Shah. It's a good conclusion.
Thank you. Thank you so much to both of you again, Dr. Kishore, sir, and Dr. Fabienne, ma'am. Do we have any more questions or any more reflections?
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yes, please go on.
Ma'am, if the problem of male gaze affects even celebrities, how can common people practically deal with it? Considering that even celebrities experience the male gaze, how can ordinary people like us respond to or challenge these issues?
That's a good question. Because celebrities are supposed to be more armed than us normal people. They are supposed to be more armed, but it's not the case. I think some celebrities are vulnerable. And Brigitte Bardot, she was very strong and very vulnerable in the same times. It's a complex topic. You can be strong and vulnerable in the same times. One thing doesn't exclude the other. And because we forget that celebrities are normal humans. Once I heard one very, very famous Italian actor. He was married to Catherine Deneuve, Marcello Mastroianni. I don't know if you know him. It's one of my favorite actor. He was working with Fellini, Federico Fellini. Very, 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 very talented actor. And once Marcello Mastroianni said something that I thought very thoughtful. He said that when he was young, he did everything for people to look at him. Everything. He would do everything. He wanted people to notice him. And when he get famous, he wanted to be incognito and to hide and not to be noticed anymore. So I think in the life you change. Someone said Bardot was very young and she, for example, she was not accurate. When she did her first film, she was 22. That's very young. Do you at the age of 22, you don't realize. Maybe if you're a student, I think students are more aware. They are less naive, but because they have read, they know emotions are complex. But Brigitte Bardot, she never went too much to school. She didn't do university. She was not an intellectual. And I think she didn't have any arms to protect herself. And I think intellectuals are more armed. If you study, if you read, you have the tools to protect yourself. You understand the rules. You understand the game of the society, and this protects. I think that, for example, Bardot has this vulnerability because she was not enough educated. She had a rough education with dancing like that, but I think she didn't read a book in her life when she was young. She was married at 18, and she was into the life like this, like a bomb, but she didn't have the tools. And normal people can have the tools. Did I answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ravia. And thank you so much, Dr. Fabienne, ma'am, again. Do we have any more questions, anyone who is still interested in throwing a question or two? Anyone with any new reflection, new angle? So there we go. This is, I like to conclude, in case nobody has any questions, any more questions to ask. And yes, let me begin by thanking the entire team of TFO. The entirety of the team of TFO conveys their heartfelt message to you, Dr. Fabienne ma'am. And thanks so much to all the participants for joining at this time from different temporal zones geographically. The team of TFO also thanks the participants and all their views, reflections, their criticism of cinema at large. There is also a word of thanks delivered to Gita ma'am and Nicola ma'am, especially for doing this and carrying on a great work of art that's in the process of only developments further. This is that. Dr. Fabienne, ma'am, the mic is over to you again for any last words you may have to address during the session tonight.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to discuss with you. Thank you, TFO, and have a nice Sunday.
Thank you. Thank you so much again, ma'am. And thanks so much, everyone, for joining. Have a good rest of the night. Have a good weekend. Enjoy your Sundays.
And
Thank you.
forgive
Good
my
night.
French accent. But I think the French people say I have Indian accent. They say you speak like an Indian. But I don't speak like Macron. Have a nice Sunday, all of you, and thanks.
You
again.
too. Thank you. Good night. Thank you all. Yeah.
Okay, so for next week,